Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our MISAD Bulletin, and we shall start with our headlines. Syrian troops encircle lest Islamic State held town. U.S. President to push China on trade during two-day visit. And moving on to our details, starting with the Syrian profile. Pro-government media say Syrian troops and allied fighters have completely encircled the last Islamic State held town. Al-Manar TV said on Wednesday that troops have surrounded the eastern town of Bukamal on the border with Iraq. In addition, the Central Military Media Center said Syrian troops and allied fighters have begun entering the town. Media also said earlier that Syrian troops had linked up with Iraqi forces across the border. Noteworthy that Bukamal is the last town controlled by IS in Syria and Iraq. Meanwhile, Russia opposes a draft UN resolution to extend the mandate of an international inquiry into chemical weapons attacks in Syria, according to what Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov said on Wednesday. Ryabkov's comments came hours after Russia rejected a report by the international inquiry blaming the Syrian government for a deadly toxic gas attack, casting doubt on the UN Security Council's ability to extend the investigation's mandate before it expires next week. Ryabkov was quoted as saying, "I stress that we are in no way raising the question of ending this structure's activities. We are in favor of its maintenance, but on a different basis." On to Sanaa's profile, the United States on Wednesday joined Saudi Arabia in accusing Iran of supplying Yemen's Houthi rebels with advanced weapons, including a ballistic missile that struck the Saudi capital last week. The White House statement said the U.S. condemns the Iranian government's activities and stands with Saudi Arabia and other Persian Gulf partners against Iran's aggression and blatant violations of international law. It also said missile systems were not present in Yemen before the civil war there, alleging that Iran provided them. From another perspective, the Yemeni presidency on Wednesday issued a statement denying that, saying the reports are lies. In Ankara, an explosion at a paint factory in northwestern Turkey killed 5 people and wounded 14 others on Wednesday. State media said the force of the explosion caused the roof of the factory to collapse and left extensive damage to some nearby vehicles in the Gursu district of the northwestern Bursa province. The state-run Anadolu News Agency also said a boiler caused the explosion and officials were investigating what happened. Going to the Spanish political crisis, pro-independence protesters blocked roads and stopped commuter trains on Wednesday in Spain's Catalonia as part of a general strike to protest the jailing of ousted Catalan government officials and secessionist activists. Many of the blockades were on roads leading to major Catalan cities, including the regional capital Barcelona, and major highways, according to what officials said. They added that disruptions affected more than 60 sections of road and highway throughout the morning. This comes after former Catalan President Carles Puigdemont with 8 ex-ministers and 2 activists were sent to jail as a Spanish court studies possible charges of rebellion and sedition against them. On to U.S. President tours. President Donald Trump will push China on trade and North Korea during a 2-day visit. As they exited Air Force One, President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump were met by Chinese and American dignitaries and children waving miniature Chinese and American flags. It's worth mentioning that before arriving in Beijing on Wednesday, President Trump used an address to the National Assembly in Seoul, South Korea, to deliver a stern message to China. However, President Trump has praised China for taking some steps against Pyongyang, but urged them to do more. And moving on to our economic news, U.S. and Chinese companies on Wednesday signed business deals, the two sides valued at $9 billion during a visit by President Donald Trump. China's biggest online retailer said it pledged to buy $1.2 billion of American beef and pork but no other details of the 19 agreements signed at a ceremony attended by U.S. Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross and were immediately released. From another aspect, China's trade surplus with the United States in October widened by 12.2% from a year earlier to $26.6 billion, according to Chinese customs data released on Wednesday. And finally, Egypt's Suez Canal Economic Zone Authority and Dubai Ports World signed a partnership agreement to develop an integrated industrial and residential zone in the Egypt's Red Sea coastal area of Sokhna, projected to start in the first quarter of 2018. The agreement will establish a joint venture between SC Zone 51% and DP World 49%, with DP World managing the zone. Moreover, the Suez Canal Economic Zone Authority's signing ceremony included 7 contracts for projects with $40 billion in investments. It's worth mentioning that the agreement was signed at a ceremony in Egypt's Red Sea resort of Sharm el-Sheikh on the sidelines of the World Youth Forum. And before ending our news, let's take another look at the most important headlines for today. Syrian troops encircle left Islamic State held town. U.S. President to push China on trade during 2-day visit. And this was the end of our Misa Bulletin for today. Thank you for joining us.